I was able to watch my dad get up every day and go to the paper mill, put his work boots on and grab his lunch pail and come back with, dirt and dust on it. I saw the work ethic that it took to be successful and to get things done on a daily basis. I've been very fortunate. I played on 13 different pro teams and 4 different USA teams and all different coaching staffs. And I've tried to take a little bit from each of them and put it into my own philosophy of coaching. If you really want something, you got to really go for it. And that's not negotiating with yourself. And that's, but boxing out all the distractions and really making it happen.
This is Grateful and Full of Greatness. I'm your host, Mark Glicini. On this podcast, I sit down with guests who, in my opinion, live their lives with the pursuit of greatness in mind. This platform allows me to discuss and to explain strategies that go into reaching peak performance. This is episode 63. My guest is Casey Powell, Hall of Fame lacrosse player, former captain of Team USA, upstate New York native, multiple-time MVP, All-American, and one of the best to ever play the game, and certainly at and for Syracuse University. On top of the numerous honors and awards he's accumulated as a player and a competitor, Casey started the 501c3 Casey Powell World Lacrosse Foundation for debilitated and chronically ill lacrosse players and their families, as well as founded SPEED Lacrosse to make the game more accessible around the world. He's a top ambassador, in my opinion, for our sport. And he and his brothers and his family, they run Powell Lacrosse Company. And he himself runs camps and clinics throughout the nation and does charity trips overseas. Casey, in my opinion, embodies adventure, entrepreneurship, leadership, creativity, and passion. I'm excited to dive into his philosophy today around lacrosse, life, and making a difference. So without further ado, I know that was a lot. Casey, thank you very much for carving out the time.
Thank you, Mark. Thanks for the introduction. Great to have this opportunity to chat with you. I got the opportunity to meet you a couple of years ago and have been very impressed with who you are as a person and what you try to bring to the table to help the next generation of athletes. So I'm excited to be on this and have a conversation with you.
Thanks. And I think the listeners are going to take a lot, even more so about life than lacrosse. And as I was thinking about how I wanted to get started on our conversation, what kept coming up is above and beyond. Some legacy and impact that it seems to run throughout your whole story, because you didn't just play lacrosse, you did it at the highest level. You didn't just stop playing lacrosse after 18 years. You went on to do all these things for the sport. So I guess I want to start with you as an ambassador. Why do you care so much to bring the game to the levels that you're doing so?
Well, I feel really fortunate, first of all, about the game of lacrosse. I discovered it in 5th grade from my brand new gym teacher named Kirk Benequatro, who came in and we fell in love with him. He was a young, motivated, person that we connected with. Both my brothers and I all had the same kind of class. And one day he brought in a lacrosse stick and shared that it was a combination of all the sports into one. And the history was from Native American warriors. And we were intrigued by it right away. And lacrosse has changed my life. My brothers and I all went on to play in college at Syracuse University, and it's had just an unbelievable effect on not just my direct family, but my entire family. From the travel and the experiences and the places that we've been able to go. So I've been very fortunate to be able to play at a high level and have a tremendous amount of opportunities. All over the place, and that continues to today. So I try to do what I can in the sport of lacrosse. I try to give back because of what it's done for me. If I can get some more kids to have half the things that have happened to me because of lacrosse, and then that's a win. So I love what the sport has done for me. I love what it continues to do for me, and I enjoy passing that on in hopes that it can change other people's lives.
And likewise, I would say I'm right there with you in lockstep on, going around the world because of the sport. It changed my life. Somebody was asking me why lacrosse out of all the sports. And I know in your history, there's different sports, but I couldn't give an elaborate answer that would point to the fact that it just kind of gripped me. I think it probably the same with you as how you're describing it from Coach Benequatro, and the fact that right when you picked up the stick, at least it was for me, I just felt like it like kind of gripped me more than I had to work at loving the sport. You talked about a combination of different sports, but I also want to talk about the combination of the way in which you played. It's a really hard way to go about this creativity, fun, play aspect, but also this like relentlessness and effort and toughness and hard work. How were you able to do both so well?
I think in reflecting, I loved it. I loved to train. I developed a lot of my game and my grit in the backyard, watching sports like Larry Bird and Bobby Hurley from Duke and Michael Jordan and literally, Big East basketball teams and literally I would go in my backyard and I would literally pretend to be them. Whether I was Gary Gate and my brother Ryan was Paul and Mike was the opposing team goalie. We literally lived in a fantasy land where we would pretend to be these players, and we would play in the house basketball, and we'd play through the Big East championship, and we'd be teams against each other, and so I watched how I was inspired by the most elite athletes in the world. I loved what they brought to the table. I loved their energy, and I was able to connect with that. But that's what I was inspired by is effort and determination and doing working harder than others. And I was able to kind of bring that to the backyard. And I grew up in a small town called Carthage, New York, blue collar town, a lot of paper mills and not a whole lot going on, but it was a tough town, and that's the way we played. But I was able to watch my dad get up every day and go to the paper mill, put his work boots on, and grab his lunch pail, and come back with dirt and dust on it every day. And my mom was obviously a big supporter of everything that we did. But I saw the work ethic that it took to be successful and to get things done on a daily basis, and then I was able to kind of create a backyard, schoolyard mentality of play where I wasn't told what to do, and I was able to be creative and do the different things that I wanted to that I saw on TV and tried to mimic. And then, but Coach Benaquatro then formed a lacrosse team with extreme discipline that was based off the West Genesee high school lacrosse program principles. And I had Syracuse University with the Gate brothers and one of the greatest lacrosse teams of all time. To be inspired by. So I had a perfect combination of backyard mentality, a very disciplined approach to practice, and making sure that we got better every day and getting the most of it. And then, like I said, kind of the backyard mentality, and then Syracuse University, the elite. So I had this perfect formula of influence around me that I was able to tap into, and that it made a huge difference in my life.
And that's a core thing about this podcast is I'm so driven to find the influences underneath the human being and not just the mentality, but what really goes into it. A quick little sports psychology thing that I always throw out is it's important to remain childlike, but not be childish. And I think that you bring that with your backyard lacrosse. And something that I've learned along the way through performance psychology is that there's three things that really lead to lasting performance enhancement. And it's not necessarily the motivation, but that's having standards for yourself, having goals plus an action plan. And the one that I really want to point out to is modeling and role models and the power of those. So that's probably where I'll go to next. One of the best life coaches on the planet that everybody knows about, Tony Robbins, wrote several books, but one of his first books is Unlimited Power. And one of his first chapters in Unlimited Power is modeling human excellence. So I would go towards you, and I've listened to, you talk about Coach Simmons and Psalm 118:24. And what I would ask you is, alongside your dad and Coach Simmons, if you want to go deeper into him, who else were the biggest influences in your life early on and then at different chapters of your life?
Yeah, I mean, from a lacrosse standpoint, Coach Benaquatro really set the tone. I had a player in my town named Jason Kaufman. He was the all-time leading scorer in collegiate history. Played at Salisbury. He was 2 years older, and he was my training partner. And we would always team up. Him and I would play against my brother Ryan and Josh. Jason would always pick the teams and put us against them. And we kind of pick on those guys a little bit. But he was an influential player, the first from our town to go off into college and play. And then I was kind of picked up by a guy named Mike Green. Mike Green has passed away. He's a former All-American and coach at a place called Canton. And Mike Green ran a indoor lacrosse league, and he heard about us after a year or two of us playing wall ball and playing in the backyard, and drove up to our town from from Watertown, New York, and checked us out. And he was a massive person. He was about 500 pounds. He had severe diabetes, but he would have a hard time even getting out of his car. But I just remember him driving up and pulling to the side of the road when we first started getting into lacrosse, and my mom came out to see who this man was, and he goes, Mrs. Powell, my name's Mike Green, and I've been watching your boys for an hour. I've heard all about them, and they're going to be all Americans someday. And my mom's like, "Oh, that's great, but what are all Americans?" And she had to, like, kind of find out, what that meant. But he was a big influence. We became ball boys for him, and being around college players for the first time, we were inspired by the way they dressed and the way they looked, and and we instantly wanted to be them. And then I've been very fortunate. I played on 13 different pro teams and 4 different USA teams and all different coaching staffs. And, I've learned so much from these unbelievable coaches and unbelievable people, that I've tried to take a little bit from each of them and put it into my own philosophy of coaching. So I've been lucky to be influenced by such amazing people, Coach Fenequacho and Coach Simmons. But the sport of lacrosse breeds great people, and that's one of the coolest things about the sport is the unbelievable people that are involved in this amazing network.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you on the network front, and a lot to be taken away. And I love the what's the All American. I just listening to you pretty intently. I think you've used the word inspired maybe 5 to 10 times already. So that really plays a big influence, maybe as to why you're doing all these things in terms of the foundations and the speed lacrosse and things like that. You're a father now too. And you have a daughter that just went off to college. What as she was going off to college, what were your kind of words of encouragement and sources of inspiration to give to her to the next level?
Just it's emotional to think about. It was only a few weeks ago. I dropped her off, cried my eyes out. She was born during the World Championships in 2006. So born born into the sport of lacrosse, but just she's been influenced by the sport kind of in a different way, but also in the same way. She's came into it a little bit differently. She was born into it rather than kind of how we found it. But she's an unbelievable person, an unbelievable teammate. So I'm excited to be able to watch her in a couple weeks. I'll be going down to watch her play against Davidson and kind of start her fall career. So super exciting to see this continue in our family and continue to make impact. And I think what I told her and what the message that she's received over the years is it's all about the relationships and the experiences. So meet as many people as you can, play as hard as you can, and enjoy the experience of playing college lacrosse. So, but I'm a big Pirate fan now, East Carolina Pirates. And, I got to get used to the purple. I've never been a purple guy, but I'm excited to cheer her on and cheer on her program.
Amazing relationships, experiences, just so powerful. I picked up as you were talking on a different podcast. One thing that you loved, and maybe you could talk a little bit more, whatever stands out about speed lacrosse and the essence of it. But one thing I loved that you said is there's no coaching. You're not allowed to coach, and I want you to just talk about that. Why is that important to you about the game?
Well, just like my foundation, I reflected and wanted to understand. Took a deep dive into my career and why was I successful? Why were my brothers successful? Why did we love the sport? Um, why do we ride it out for so long? Why are we continue to do it? And it all came back to my backyard and what we did back there and the nightly games and the competition and the fantasy land, as I previously talked about. The competition level was out of this world. We didn't know it at the time, but some of the best players of all time were in our backyard playing from that little small town. So speed lacrosse is the representation of that time period, and that influence. And I was a kid that didn't have a lot of money growing up, and it was hard for us to get equipment and all that kind of stuff. So we grew up playing the game of lacrosse with just a stick in the backyard. And at first, we used a picnic table as our goal, and my dad's fishing net as the goalie net. And we got creative, and then we're able to kind of build up a little bit. But we played without pads and that style throughout my growing up period and my developmental stage, and that was the difference for me. So I look back to why was I more successful than a lot of other players? And it was all relative to that backyard and the amount of time and effort that I put into it. So, Speed Lacrosse is I developed it as a way for people to try the game very easily. It's a very simple rule set. It's really fun to play. It's great for conditioning, and it certainly builds the passion. And one of the reasons I try to keep it as real as possible to what I was growing up and why I liked it so much. And I liked being the freedom in the backyard and not being yelled at or told what to do and what not to do. So the no coaching part is, these games, we play 6 minute speed lacrosse games, so they're very quick, and any coaching can be done, after those games, and kind of reflection of what went right and what went wrong type thing. But I've never been motivated by yelling and screaming, being told what to do, and I love the freedom of the game. So we've eliminated that from my version of speed lacrosse.
This episode is brought to you by Thorne Health Tech. Which company do you trust when it comes to your health? Thorne Health Tech provides over 190 supplements and products necessary to avoid deficiencies and optimize mental acuity, holistic health, speed, strength, and conditioning. For years, I've taken their amino complex, whey protein, and elite multi AM and PM vitamins. I'm proud to represent Thorne. Why? Because their quality of products is the highest, as well as purity and potency of every supplement. They're backed by the Mayo Clinic. The raw materials that go into the supplements are NSF certified for sport, as well as tested and retested to meet Olympic standards. So if you're looking to optimize your performance and get to the next level, whether it's to meet your protein thresholds or just optimize holistically, trust Thorne. To get started, enter your email and enjoy 25% off at thorne.com/u/Mark Glicini. That's thorne.com/u/Mark Glicini. Enjoy. Now, back to the episode. The word paradise really just means kind of like a walled garden, and that's really what is coming to my mind as I'm listening to you talk about Fantasyland and the backyard. Is you don't necessarily want no walls, right? So that there's just like a never-ending kind of woods and trees to no boundaries at all. But you also don't want to be too constrained, and having that freedom to express yourself. One of the ways in which I look at peak performance is when you're doing something that fully expresses your full personality, and I think that's what lacrosse has been for you. It's a weird shift that I'm going into, but now your current endeavor is at Colorado Academy, where you are bringing your coaching experience and your mentorship and leadership. So I guess I would ask you about Colorado Academy, and are you bringing that backyard mentality to Colorado Academy, and what other blend are you bringing to your coaching there?
Yeah, super excited. As soon as my daughter left for college, I was ready to make a move. I finished my professional National Lacrosse League box lacrosse career in Colorado. I've always enjoyed this lacrosse community, and I thought it was a good decision to come out here and try to make an impact on the lacrosse community, which is already thriving. But I wanted to kind of get in the mix, and I became the director of program and head coach at Colorado Academy last season. My goal is to bring all my experience and develop an unbelievable lacrosse program there with, and that all starts with culture. So I'm a big culture person, and I'm going to be sharing my experiences. I brought in some great coaches already. My co-head coach is Dan Pratt, who also played at Syracuse University. I have some Colorado Mammoth players, Warren Jeffries and Tyson Gibson, who are coaches on my program already. So yeah, we're looking to build something really special out there. It's a phenomenal school. The families and the kids are top notch, and I get to travel all around the country and all around the world and meet players and families, and these are some of the best families that I've ever been around. So I'm excited to share my style and continue to try to make an impact at the high school coaching position. But the goal is to build up a great program that does things the right way and makes an impact by way of lacrosse.
I'm going to double click on that and just ask you about the right way and about the culture you're looking to build, just to see if anything kind of sticks out that, when I hear you say that, I'm not already thinking about. And maybe you can intertwine something that I just love to hear that Simmons was talking to you guys about at Syracuse. Obviously, I come from, the mental side, and I really love teaching it. But when I heard head, heart, and hustle, I had to bring that up. And maybe you could talk a little bit about that, but also the type of culture you're looking to bring to Colorado Academy.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be, crazy not to say that a lot of my influence is from Coach Simmons, not only from my coaching style, but from my everyday life. So head, heart, hustle is a Syracuse terminology that I've implemented into my life. And, when things are going tough or things aren't going the way that I want, I try to think through it and say, all right, where's my head at? Where's my heart and my hustling? Whether that's on the field or off the field, that I've been able to use the HHH as an opportunity to kind of see where I'm at. And when all those, the head, the heart, and the hustle are all in sync, that's when I'm thriving in my life. So I think, that's what I'm really trying to, get find the rhythm for is all those, entities into one thing. So it's always a challenge and a work in progress to get everything kind of in balance, but that's kind of the goal. So I learned that from Coach Simmons. He said it for lacrosse, but it's been a big deal to my life. I wanted to share one quick story about being aggressive and going on a mission. And this is a story about my brother Ryan. I may have shared it with you before, Mark, but back in year 2000, I was out playing professional lacrosse for the Rochester Nighthawks. And it was Christmas break, and my brother Ryan was a senior, and I drove back from Rochester to pick him up in Syracuse and head back to our hometown. And I walked into Ryan's apartment to pick up his bags, and I looked above his bed, and there was a huge 96 written on the wall. I was like, "Hey, Ryan, what's 96?" He goes, "That's how many points I need to tie your all-time record." So 83 was the most I ever scored in one season, and 104 was the NCAA record. So 96 was a lofty goal. I tapped him on the rear end. I was like, "All right, good luck, man." We go back. We drive an hour and a half to our hometown. We get out, and we're chilling. And I was like, "Hey, I'm going to Joe's, drink some beers. Want to go?" He goes, "No, I'm on a mission." I was like, "Okay." I go to Joe's, drink beers, and I get back, and I wake up the next day, and I wake up, "Hey, Mom, where's Ryan?" He's out. He's out playing wall ball in the snow. And he carried this mission on. He was running the snowbanks. He was playing wall ball under the snowflakes. He was playing basketball, lifting, not going out, not partying. And this went on for the 2-week break. And he goes back to Syracuse and the same thing. Everybody, "Hey, let's go party, man. We got 2 weeks before the season starts." He's like, "No, I'm on a mission." And they're like, "Oh, okay." They drove back from the bars, and at 2 a.m, my brother Ryan's out on the turf doing inside rolls, fake and finish, and his buddies are getting back from going out and drinking. And then they wake up the next day and go to class, and they see my brother Ryan jogging to class rather than taking the bus. And a couple more days go by, they see my brother doing this, and they're like, "All right, Ryan, our captain's doing this. Let's stop partying. Let's join him on the turf. Let's join him running the class." So they all stopped partying. They all joined him. They have this awesome season. Fast forward, national championship, 19 seconds left. He scored his 96 point. They beat Virginia 13-9, and he finished tied as the all-time leading scorer. So I share this message with kids, and this is something that I think about when I want to accomplish something now is, if you really want something, you got to really go for it. And that's not negotiating with yourself. And that's, but boxing out all the distractions and really making it happen. So it's about making things happen, not just, talking about it.
Amazing. I'm going on a mission. I think I'll say that the rest of the day, or at least for the rest of the week. And
Right.
One of the things that a mentor once said to me, and it really stuck with me, and he says, everybody tells you that you should be well-rounded, just be a well-rounded person. And he's like, forget that. You should have manners, but I want you to be a monomaniac on a mission. Whatever you're interested in, be so focused and dialed in on that. And, there's a lot of things that go hand in hand with that. But the word that really stands out to me from both parts of your answers there is this word clarity, right? So I asked you about that, like head, heart, and hustle, because clarity is so important because once you have that, you can have confidence. If you don't have clarity, then you're confused and you're never really gonna, know where you're direction oriented. And, just in the same way you said head, heart, and hustle, I heard a psychologist talk about this the other day. He goes, I have a motto every single morning. It's shut up, suit up, show up. And I love that because it's really simple about, stop complaining, shut up, suit up, get yourself ready and prepared for whatever you need to do, and then just show up because, part of the battle is just going out, into the cold and be willing to lead with behavior and then change your thinking. So if I can go off one more tangent, I would say that's a really key element to lead with behavior to change your thinking. So sometimes we become happier when we start to smile. Sometimes we start to feel better when we move our body. And I think a lot of people try to change their behavior by thinking differently, but it's much harder to do that than vice versa. So thank you for the I'm on a mission. And then I would pour that right into what you're doing now. One of your main missions is the Casey Powell World Lacrosse Foundation. So why? Why'd you start that? You have already 9 different things going on. Why do you pile that on yourself?
Yeah, we started that again, kind of in sync with SPEED Lacrosse. At retirement, I wanted to figure out a pathway to give back, and I was able to, reflect and think about, not only SPEED Lacrosse and what's the best way to grow the game of lacrosse, and I thought that was SPEED Lacrosse. Our slogan's anyone, anywhere, anytime. You can play on basketball courts, parking lots, and really not limited to where you can try the game out. And then the foundation, throughout my career, I was asked to help cancer patients and make videos and autograph jerseys and all that kind of stuff. And I was able to feel the impact of the difference that I could make by very small gestures. And so being those my 2 passions, we started the Casey Powell World Lacrosse Foundation in 2015 to share, support, inspire, share our passion, share our interests, share the game of lacrosse, inspire more people to play the game worldwide by way of SPEED Lacrosse, and to support injured and ill families who are going through life-changing situations. And to me, it's been very fulfilling. I walk out of hospitals on my tiptoes. I feel better than the person that I visited. So we've been able to create a pretty good following of ambassadors, both from youth ambassadors to former parents of some of the families that we've supported who have joined our mission and our foundation to help support those families that are going through a really tough time. So it's kind of twofold. We support those that need us from a family aspect. I wanted to make sure that our foundation acted like the game of lacrosse and how we support each other. And then obviously my passion is to grow the game and give more people an opportunity to enjoy some of the things that I have. So my foundation, we have a brand new board coming on in place. A new president of the board is a former professional player named Billy Serino, who I played with for the Rochester Nighthawks. And we're bringing on some new heat to make a bigger impact. We're having our first international affiliate with Costa Rica Lacrosse, where we'll be taking SPEED Lacrosse to schools all around the country for the next few years, and we're going to select a few other countries to kind of move forward in that pathway. But Costa Rica has a great point person named Walter Rojas, who's organically working hard to grow the game, and we've partnered with him to bring down some juice there and support his initiative in growing the game and exposing it to more people. So, yeah.
A guy that I talk about a lot on these podcasts is, and he was episode 6, is a guy named Ben Ives. He's a former SEAL. And one of the things that he said is there's always 2 sides to the sword, and that's EQ and IQ. So your emotional intelligence, the way in which you love, support, you care, you cooperate, and then the IQ is the skill development and the hard stuff. And Casey, as I'm listening to you as you talk here, there's a lot of that EQ. There's a lot of that support and love and passion and support and things that you're doing to uplift other people. And I'm going back to when in your childhood, you're in that backyard, just loving the game and playing the game. My question to you is, when do you feel there was that uptick in your competitiveness, in your toughness, in your resiliency, in your hard work? Did you always have that as well? Or did you ever just upshift to a whole nother level in terms of competition?
No, I think it's just always been a part of me. It's how I've always played everything, and it's how I enjoy playing it. I would the game within the game is something, I always continuously talk about and think about. And from a lacrosse standpoint, it's even hard to kind of teach, but throughout an entire game, I'm making sure that my guy is intently actively paying attention to me, and I'm utilizing his attention to wear him down with different movements and different continual thought processes of bringing him away from the ball, or doing little things like that. So I loved the training aspect of it. I loved hard work. I still do. I could do a clinic today and with line drills, and I can beat the kids in front of me, type thing. And I take pride in that. So I played speed lacrosse with my daughter, and she was dating a guy, and we played lacrosse, and they came over and in our my parents' backyard, and we're playing. And I'm playing the way that I play, and she's on the other team, and I'm pushing her boyfriend around, and I'm winning. She's like, "Dad, why do you got to go so hard?" It's like, and I didn't really know how to answer that question, but thinking about that after, and why she was upset, but like that's just how I am. That's how I play, and that's how I enjoy to play. That's how I enjoyed to train. So the reason I'm successful at lacrosse is because of that passion and enjoyment to push myself on the off days. And people would tell me something like, tone it down a little bit, and I was just like, never. So yeah.
So you weren't kidding about the anyone, anytime, anywhere, even your daughter's boyfriend.
Oh
You
yeah.
get it.
Oh
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So we do have a lot of parents that listen to this. We do have a lot of young professionals and young coaches who listen to this. And I want to pull on the thread that you're giving me right now, which would be it's hard to teach, but I want you to attempt to give them those little principles that, were decisions that you've made along the way that have become pillars in your philosophy and in how you coach and in how you play. So to the young coach or young professional who's looking to teach and mentor student athletes, if you will, where would you go with that? What are the key elements that you would point to right away for those listening?
Well, I think my Twitter version of my lacrosse philosophies are, it comes down to the training and your habits. I have a rule at all my clinics, and a personal rule: no raking. It's a very little thing, but we're out at practice for 2 hours. We're there to train for a 2-hour lacrosse game. Everything that we do should be a positive to prepare us for that game and that training. So very easily in a practice, I could 20 to 30 to 40 times rake a ball on every little drill, pick it up, scoop it. But if I do a regular ground ball and get down on it and scoop it up and protect it 40 times, I'm going to be a better lacrosse player at the end of that practice. And it starts with the rake, but if I have that mentality at all the different aspects, whether it be perfect protection on my roll dodge, or putting my butt in at my target, and snapping, coming over the top. It's all about the little things. So I bought into the foundation and the fundamentals of the little things, and I pounded those with pride and with passion. People always say, you got to work. I never looked at it as work. I looked at it as fun. I looked at it as enjoyment. I would see my brothers on the wall, and then I would run out of the house and go join them, because I didn't want them to get a little bit better. But from an offensive standpoint, it's important to understand the 7 offensive principles: pass, pick, pop, replace, overload, cut, shoot. Those are the 7 things that you do on offense. And I evaluate and break down those 7 categories to see how well-rounded of a player. Am I a good picker? Do I move off ball type thing? Am I popping out good enough at the right time? Am I spacing? Am I getting enough room? So those are and then I have a rule when I'm out there. If I'm there for 2, find someplace new. So 1,001, 1,002. And when I'm there after those 2 seconds, I revert to, one of those 7 offensive principles. I could go replace, I could go set a pick, I could pop out, I could cut. So there's 4 things that I can do, from that option. I have a philosophy: throw and go. So I throw the ball and I don't stand there, because my defender is the help defender, is the closest defender. So I throw and I take my defender away from the ball to make room for the ball carrier. So little things like that. Score, skip, safe, the 3 S's. Every time I catch the ball, I look to score immediately, aggressively. If it's not there, I'll look for an assist, a skip pass, and then I'll settle down to the safe pass. So you constant evaluation every time I touch the ball is score, skip, safe. Looking to attack the net, not there. Possible assist, not there. Then I look to move the ball, and this kind of happens very quickly. So those are kind of little things, and then being selfish and then unselfish, kind of back and forth, is what I do on the offensive standpoint. So I'll look to get the ball, get myself open. And if that doesn't happen, then really quickly, I'll try to jar my teammate open, or again, I'll try to bring my defender away from the ball. And then I'll do that. And then I go back to getting back open. So it's a constant flip flop of me trying to help my team and then myself, kind of. So those are my little philosophies on offense that I constantly, think about.
I know you're smirking. I mean, I can just show you just already from our talk about where I'm at. This is the time in which people are hitting back 15 or back 30, back 30, back 30, and listening to it again and listening to it again, because they want those 7 principles. They want those SSS. And thank you, because that's what I was looking for. And just to your point about the no raking, somebody who's listening to this that doesn't know what lacrosse is, it's when the ball is available and you push down on it to pull it in, rather than drive all the way through and take a little bit more extra effort to do that. And it said that high performance is made up of little things, but is no little thing. And I think that I love that, you are always pointing to that and everything that you do. You go across the country. Forget that. You go overseas as well. So you've seen so many lacrosse games and players. For someone where you would go, okay, that player is different. When you're just evaluating, you're there, you have a glimpse, you could see it for like less than 5 minutes. Why are they different? What stands out to you about that player on that certain field or even basketball court that that person's different? What would it be about that person or player?
Well, I always tell the kids, I go everywhere, and lacrosse, unfortunately, and I say this unfortunately, is because it's pretty paramount in the world of lacrosse, is everybody's playing to play in college, and that seems to be a focus, and certainly. I encourage that. It was the best time period of my life. I think there's a place for everybody, but I always say that the sport is a lot better than that. It's a lot greater than that. Playing in college is a byproduct of doing things the right way, and respecting the sport, and doing what it takes to get the job done. But there's we've talked about the relationships and the experiences and the opportunities and the family and the network and then the give back. So lacrosse gives you so many other things that are, in my opinion, even better, or elevate that college experience. So I think I think what stands out to me are the people that really love the game and respect the game, and from a player standpoint, that's going as hard as you possibly can in all the opportunities that you have. And that's how I was. And I can go around the country. I can go to Columbus, Ohio, and do a lacrosse clinic, and I can tell, whether the kid is going to be a great one or not. Whether he's 12 years old or 13 years old, you can tell by his eyes, the passion that they have, the excitement they have about the sport, the inspiration that they've received from the incredible role models in the sport, and then again, kind of paying attention to detail. I remember I went to a clinic in Puyallup, Washington, way back in the day, and I showed up with my brother Ryan, and we were in the middle of nowhere, and I saw these 2 brothers playing catch, and everybody else was trying to rip top corner, and these 2 brothers just partner passing, go back and forth, and it was the Leclerc brothers. So Trey Leclerc was like 11 or 12 years old at the time, and I was like, those guys are going to be something. Those guys are going to be awesome. And years later, of course, because of their training habits and the way that they, the other kids are out there shooting top corner, and these guys are getting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of more reps than those kids. So it makes an impact. So you can tell by their energy, their passion, and obviously their work ethic, or may I say head, heart, hustle.
Yeah, you definitely can. And since you said it again, maybe once or twice, I'm just going to go to it. I was going to say it earlier. The Latin root of the word inspiration means to breathe life into. And I think you give that to people. People have given that to you. I had a coach back in the day that said to me, Glicini, when you played this sport at 99%, you're an average athlete. And I never forgot that. I never forgot that, when I step on, I can't be 99% because I'll just be an average athlete.
Wow.
And then there's this funny little metaphor or story about a grandfather walking with his grandson along the sidewalk. And the grandfather bends down to pick up a penny. And he goes to his grandson, "Look, I'm rich." And the little grandson said, "But grandpa, it's just a penny. How are you rich?" And he goes, "People walk by pennies all throughout the day, and they never bend over and do the little thing that no one else is willing to do. So it's the habit of bending down to pick up pennies that will make me rich. It's not the penny itself." And ever since I heard that story, I always pick up pennies, just because it's the little thing. It's the little thing that goes a long way. If it's a quarter, everybody's bending over to get that thing. But how about doing the decision that nobody else will? And if you want something that nobody else has, you have to be willing to do that. So
Absolutely.
I think what I would ask you, Casey, is about the word sacrifice. Nobody plays this sport at the depth, length. I've just finished my 9th year pro, but you've done it for 18, right? So I know how much that sacrifice goes into that. The missing of this, that, weddings, this. Why? And maybe you could just speak to that, whatever comes to mind for you. Did you feel like it was a sacrifice for you? Is that true or not true?
Definitely a sacrifice. And, you said I missed out on a lot, family reunions and weddings and, stuff. Some things I regret missing, but it was who I am. It's what it's what I am, and it's what I enjoyed to do. And I feel and felt very fortunate to have the opportunities to fly all over the world. People would fly me to the world to play in front of a crowd of people. And, people talk about the money in lacrosse and all that. And I would have done it for free. Even if I had to do it all over again, I would have went out there and done it again because of the everything that's involved with it, the camaraderie, the competition, the, see where I'm at type thing. And I enjoyed playing later in my career to try to reinvent myself as a player and try to do other things and, constantly kind of work on my craft to stay with the top in the game. So for me, it was just it was a lot of fun and, just my passion. So part of my DNA.
This episode is brought to you by a Whoop. For the last several years, I have not taken this off my wrist. Okay, maybe I have, but it was just to change the colors. I truly trust Whoop. It's a wearable that lets me know about my resting heart rate variability, respiratory rate, and so much more. I wake up in either the green, yellow, or red, and I know if I should prioritize training and working out harder or I need to prioritize recovery. I was always looking for ways to optimize and take my performance and training to the next level. Whoop's helped me do that. If you're looking to get started, here's a free wristband and a free first month. And if you don't like it, you can return it at no cost. All you have to do is go to the following: join.whoop.com/MGPP. That's join.whoop.com/MGPP. Mark Glicini Peak Performance. My clients, I trust Whoop. You should too. Enjoy. Let me know how you get on. Now, back to the episode. You said camaraderie and compete there. Something that it's said by the psychologist John Piaget is we play inside of a game whether we know it or not. In order to be successful at that game, you have to know how to cooperate and to compete. You can't just do one of them, right? So you have to cooperate and play your position and role for the team. That goes with your point to the selfish, unselfish side of things, and I think it's a really hard balance to get right, but through maturation and evolution of you as the athlete, you have to learn, when to be selfish, when to be unselfish, when to compete and be the best at your role, and then, cooperate and be the best for the team. It's not an easy thing. And I know you said that the money, I get that, but your for-profit business is with your family, the Powell Lacrosse, and maybe we could just point to that. And, it seems like everything you've done as a player is now bleeding into your products. Is that fair to say, in terms of creativity, the passion and the work ethic? Could you talk about that?
Yeah, it's really cool. To have this opportunity to be able to create cool things that I think are impactful and also that I'm passionate about, that can make an influence and an impact in the sport of lacrosse. So whether it's SPEED Lacrosse, the World Lacrosse Foundation, my new flagship location in Colorado at Colorado Academy, or providing great products and events through Powell Lacrosse. I have the opportunity to work with my brothers Ryan and Mike, my sister Gretchen, my brother Jason, my brother Mason does uniform design. So it's really cool that we have the opportunity to kind of come together, and we've been able to kind of figure it out and learn to stay in our lane. Stay at what we're most passionate about, and develop kind of our own entity. But it's been a passion project for our family, and we're excited. We have 4 new sticks coming out soon, and it's really cool to look at the designs and decide which way to go, and which plastics to use and which shafts, and coming up with 30 names to wean it down to what name we're going to call the sticks and all that kind of stuff. So it's a ton of fun, and we love being the grassroots, and we love being organic and family owned, and it's kind of relative and reflective of how we started in the game of lacrosse. But we're restarting from a business standpoint, where we're learning, we're grinding, we're picking up ground balls one at a time, and learning kind of a whole new realm of business and lacrosse opportunity.
So, I mean, I only have a few left for you entering the fourth quarter of this podcast. I would go back to the inspiration and breathing life into, because I know that there's going to be a bunch of young lacrosse players that want to play in college, but maybe even younger than that. Could I just ask you like a twofold question, which would be, what are the misconceptions in the game that you hope that the players listening to you stay away from, but they're kind of hearing the wrong messaging out there, versus what are the main principles or main thing that you would say that they should focus on instead?
Yeah. I think I'm a big self promoter, but I think being aware of self promotion, I showcase and share what I do in the sport, without trying to be too overly aggressive in my self promotion. I do run a business, and I do have a brand, and I try to promote that. But I think most importantly, and I've shared this story before about Brian Tevlin. I don't know if you've heard this story about Brian Tevlin, but I tell this story. Brian Tevlin went to Yale, and then 5th year goes to Notre Dame, and instantly, because of his leadership qualities, becomes a captain in the fall. And he goes through, has a great season, makes an impact on the team, and they're in the NCAA semifinals, and he scores the game-winning goal to send Notre Dame to the national championship. Monday comes around, they win the national championship. Everybody's going nuts. The entire team, Notre Dame team, is inside the locker room going nuts, smoking cigars, nets around their head, except Brian Tevlin. Brian Tevlin was outside picking up the sideline, the Gatorade bottles, and all the players' equipment. And he was making sure that the sideline was spick and span, and cared more about the team and the perception of the program than he did about winning the national championship. And I share that message, and I don't even know Brian Tevlin, but I think my message is, what can you give the sport of lacrosse rather than get from the sport of lacrosse? So I think the more that you do give, the more that you will get. So that's my ending message.
Oh, geez, I can't think of a better way to wrap it up. The more you give, the more you live. Brian is a good friend. Talk about a foundation. His brother tragically passed, and he runs a foundation, and they play lacrosse. And I hope some people from the lacrosse community can make it to his foundation lacrosse game that he runs every single year. Casey, thank you so much for your time. You just gave a master class and a PhD in lacrosse, but also in life. Grateful for our relationship. Thank you very much for taking the time. Any final words or questions that I should have asked you, but I didn't?
No. We're bringing a group to Australia this December. We're bringing some Yale lacrosse players, and we'd love to have you join us at a trip in the future. We're going to be going on a mission over here as a build up to the 2028 Olympics. And we're going to try to make an impact on our end to get more people excited about the game of lacrosse. We'd love to have you join us sometime on a trip.
You're the man. And I think that's what I would lead the listeners with. What's your mission? What do you want a mission for? Think about that and meditate on that at the end of this. And Casey, thanks so much for taking the time.
Thanks, Mark.